All right, we're back with Rick Corey Sports Special. You recognize that gentleman right there, Loren Montgomery at Bixby, who's smiling again this week after a 50-10 win against Sand Springs. First of all, 4 touchdowns early. You must have been very pleased with the early start by your offense.
Yeah, we got off to a fast start, and that's good. We were executing, moving the football, and playing pretty clean, and so we were excited about that. But then got it later into the first half, and kind of fumbled around and didn't execute quite as well as we had hoped. But back to that identity piece, we're still young, trying to develop an identity and get some things cleaned up.
Well, and when you get off to a start like that, a lot of times it is easy to pull off the gas, especially with a younger group. You've always had some pretty seasoned guys. You've got a lot of young people with only 5 starters back. You think a little of that is just that human nature thing of, hey, we're up 28, we can kind of slow it down.
Without a doubt, human nature is to make an A on that first test and sit back and relax and make a C on the next one and get a B average. Well, you can't be good that way, and you got to develop that intensity and keep it going the entire time. And so we got some things to learn, but give Sand Springs credit; they've got a really good football team, an excellent quarterback, and did some good things against us.
Well, it's easier to learn when you win by 40, isn't it? I mean, sometimes practice
Yeah.
and the film and all that goes a little smoother.
Yeah, yeah. And like for us, we had a lot of senseless penalties, and anytime you get behind the chains, that's hard to overcome. And I think over 100 yards in penalties, and so that'll be a point of focus. Our first game was pretty clean, and then this game had a lot of holding calls and a couple of we had to take a touchdown off the board because of a peel back block and just things like that our guys got to learn. And so we will, and we'll continue to grow. Saturday film was good once again, and time for us to head into this bye week and clean some of those things up.
Do you like having that bye week that early in the season, or would you prefer? I mean, it's always going to depend, I guess, on where you are as far as health and that kind of thing. But what's your overall opinion?
I think if we had our druthers, you'd rather play your first three games, so 0, 1, 2, and then take the bye week on week three right before you start district play. Unfortunately, this year with non-district scheduling, that just wasn't an option, and so it is what it is, and so we'll utilize this week. We need it. We need to practice on ourselves and get better. And then Friday we will try to simulate a game the best we can with our conditioning piece that we call metabolic plays, and the players will take the weekend off. So yeah, looking forward to this bye week and another opportunity to get a little bit better.
Explain the metabolic pace. What do you guys do?
Well, so it's simply, conditioning, and our guys, we break them up by position groups, and they do movement patterns that will mimic what they're doing in a game. And they might do a 3 play drive, they might do a 10 play drive, they might do a 12 play drive, and offense will be on the sidelines, defense will be on the field, and then we'll run offense and defense off and try to simulate 4 quarters the best we can in about 40 minutes. And so what we'll do, our guys are going to end up getting about 60 plays on Friday, which maybe isn't quite as intense as a game, but hopefully those first 2 weeks of game shape that we've gotten into, we don't lose over the bye week.
Yeah, I can see that. Now, tell me about your defense. You're up 28, then obviously you're pretty excited about how those guys are playing, and only giving up 10, you got to be pretty pleased.
Yeah, defense did some really good things. We had a pick six. St. Springs is a big screen team, and Cooper
Mhm.
Parker did an excellent job getting a pick six. We had a couple of three and outs. So we had some guys flying around doing some really good stuff. Right before half, probably got a little bit greedy. Used a timeout, used a couple of timeouts trying to get the ball back, and we had the ball back, but had a pass interference call, and then we had a personal foul call, which extended 2 drives for Sand Springs and allowed them to score a touchdown right before the first half. But for the most part, defense was solid. We got some good play out of some of our guys, and still working on trying to find out who our best defensive linemen are.
You mentioned Cooper Parker. I noticed he had a score or two as well, and then as you mentioned, he had the pick six there. So, what about his game overall?
Yeah, he's a senior veteran. He's a 3-year starter at linebacker. He started about half the year as a sophomore, and started all last year. Was a leading tackler for us, and then we also use him at the quarterback position in our short yardage jumbo wildcat, whatever you want to call it. package, and he's been very effective there. Had some really nice runs the other night, but he's a quiet leader. He's a guy that does everything right. And you know how we define integrity, count on me. He's that guy that we can always count on.
Any other players who you after film play you looked or after film study you looked at and went, you know what, really nice.
You know, Tyler Wright, one of our starting safeties, he's young, played a little bit last year as a sophomore, but also got some run on the offensive side of the ball and had about 130, 140 yards receiving, was our leading wide receiver. Did some really good things on the offensive side of the ball. And so he's a weapon that we're going to have to utilize. On the offensive side of the ball, as well as what he's doing defensively, continuing to grow there. So that's good. And got a couple of young linemen that are doing some good stuff. Caden Penny, just a sophomore, playing a little bit on both sides of the ball, is really a phenomenal football player, and probably has one of the biggest upsides of any player that I've coached as a sophomore. Sam DeWoody, a guard for us, is doing some good stuff, really getting better. So having some guys really grow and step up, and you do see a ton of growth from that first game to that second game. I know it's
Yeah.
cliche, but you know, stereotypes or cliches exist for a reason.
Yeah, and that's the reason I would think for you. I mean, hey, you just got things kind of on track. Now you got this bye week, which you try to do the best you can with. But I don't know. I feel like you. I'd probably want to play this week if that were the case. You're going to have a great weather week, so you got a really good week of practice go on. And when you don't have a game, when you got the bye week, and people think bye week is off week, it's not an off week; it's a bye week. When you got that off week or that bye week, pardon me, as you go through this practice schedule, will you change anything up to that Friday, or is it going to be the same kind of thing?
We'll change a few things, but try to keep it as normal as possible. Today is a hectic day. Mondays in Bixby Spartan football are crazy because there will be 6 football games within our program, 8 through 12. So some of our high school coaches are also eighth grade coaches, which is a good thing, but it's hectic. So Monday's practice schedule, we have to do a bunch of our teamwork and group work at the front end of practice. And so basically we flip our practice schedule, but so coaches can leave and go to games early, and we can have guys at JV games and eighth grade games. But the rest of the week, we'll pretty much keep it as normal as possible. We won't watch as much opponent film as we typically do on a normal game week. We'll watch a little bit of Choctaw, our next opponent, and have an idea of what they're going to do. But yeah, maybe shorten things up just a hair as far as eliminating about 20 minutes a meeting on some days.
And then the other thing is you know you're back in school now for a couple of weeks, and there's a rhythm to that too, because the guys start without school, and then school's back, and now you got classes added to that, and going to and from, and all that. Does it take a while to settle into that pattern too, Lauren?
You know, I think it does. You know, there's been a lot of change for us here at Bixby. Last Saturday, we just moved into our new locker room and our new offices and facilities. So there's a transition there as far as getting stuff over. Meeting rooms, all of our meeting rooms aren't finished yet. The upstairs portion isn't finished. So we're kind of having to find our way there. And then this will be our first full week of school. You know, our first couple weeks were, you know, only 4-day weeks. And so being our first full week at school is going to be a little bit of a change. You know, we had a short week. We had Labor Day last week, and then we had the staff development, you know, the week before that. So, yeah, it'll be nice to settle into a normal routine, or as normal as we have it, and hopefully begin to develop some momentum and continue to get better.
Yeah, Coach Blankenship always called that when he was at Union. He said it was the rhythm of the season, which kind of makes you feel like it's everything's normal again. And for some reason, when that happens, when you're in that pattern, the work, I mean, to me at least, doesn't seem as hard. There's something about that rhythm to me that's pretty helpful. Do you find it the same for your young guys?
I think it's really good about football season because once you do get into the, as you call it, the rhythm of the season, you know what your Mondays look like. You know really what every day of the week looks like. And for us, like as a staff, all 7 days, you know, are broken up, and we know what that looks like. Also for the players, I think our players, for the most part, are creatures of habit, and so
Yeah.
want to feel comfortable with our practice schedule and know what the next transition is. And so like for instance, today when you flip the practice schedule, some of the guys might be a little bit uneasy, or the
Mhm.
transitions might not be so smooth. But yeah, we're starting to get into that. It's not mid-season yet; it's still early season, but start to get into a little bit of a rhythm, and I think that will help us, Rick.
You mentioned personality, and we talked about it a little bit last week too. And when you have a younger group, how long does it normally take to kind of find out, all right, this is what this team is?
It's hard to say. You have to experience a little bit of success, and we experienced a little bit of success last week, but we need a little bit more of a body of work, some more data. When we break down our film and look at our data, and we're trying to determine what we are good at, a two-game sample size is not really good, especially when two games that were so drastically different for us. And so we need to continue to do that and find out who we are and develop an identity.
How much Saturday did you spend watching some of your guys play on Saturday? Because it was pretty easy since you got like the Haas guys who are out there playing against Brennan, both with touchdowns, by the way.
The 11 a.m. kicks are tough on us because we lift and we watch film on Saturdays. However, I was able to get home for the second half and watch the entire second half. And man, we take so much pride in seeing our guys have success. Of course, Brendan Presley had a phenomenal game, made some really big plays in critical situations. In fact, the game should have been over in regulation had there not been a silly personal foul there, taunting personal foul. And then Luke had an excellent touchdown. And then Dylan was out there on special teams. Those guys all look so good. Got a really cool picture of those guys after the game. And so, us as coaches, we love it when our guys go on and play at the next level. Fortunately, we've got a lot of them that are playing college football. So it's so fun to keep up with them. I know, Brody Duffel, we had mentioned him earlier before we started recording, but he got to travel to
Yeah.
Jonesboro and he's on the travel squad. And, he would be a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if he finds a way on the field just because he's got staying power. He's smart. He does things right. And then, of course, your guy, Cowboy, got to watch him. He plays really well. He's just so fun to watch. He plays hard. But yeah, all of our guys, Braylon, and that we got to watch this weekend, we take so much pride in, and we got some guys doing some really good stuff. Jet Turner, for one, is up at Nebraska Kearney, and
Yeah.
they're 2-0 right now. Got off to a great start this season. So yeah, we're excited about them.
You got a lot of those guys all over the place. It's got to be really cool. Loren, congratulations on that new locker room deal. I mean, that's the thing I want to see someday here. So we'll get out that way and we'll make sure we do one of the shows out there. Enjoy your bye week.
Absolutely, we will. Thanks, Rick.